Ellison. He's the first Muslim elected to Congress and co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Congressman, thanks for being with us this morning.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Boy, what a tragedy this whole story is when you hear about the lives of these three students. Do you believe that they were targeted because they were Muslim?
I think there are enough facts in the record to pursue that as a line of investigation. There certainly are some facts to indicate that their religion may have been a factor. So I think that it's very important that we pursue this and get to the bottom of it. I am confident, based on my review of the facts, that the parking answer is certainly not the whole story.
And when you say, what are your review of the facts? What are the things that lead you to believe that?
Newspaper articles I've written, and also people who I've talked to in North Carolina, who have told me that there was some history between the people, that there may have been comments about, there may have been some comments referring to, religious clothing or clothing associated with certain religious practice. And, it's not, what I want to say is that it's prudent for us not to jump to a conclusion, but it's also prudent for us to keep all options open, including the possibility that it was a bias-motivated crime. I just think that I don't want anybody to jump to any conclusion. I want us to keep our minds open and follow the facts where they lead us.
In fact, the suspect's own Facebook posts do tend to point towards him having a problem with religion. It's not clear which religion. I believe he self-identified as an atheist, but he seemed to have a problem with all organized religion. Let me read you his Facebook post. He says, given the enormous harm that your religion has done in the world, I'd say that I have not only a right, but a duty to insult it, as does every rational thinking person on this planet. Again, unclear who he's talking to there, but he had an issue.
Yeah, he certainly did have an issue, and I think that there were more than one contact that had been going on. They were killed execution style. So if the whole story about the parking were accurate, you would think that it would happen at a parking place where there was some kind of an argument. That's not what happened. So the bottom line is that I think there are a lot of facts here. This very well could be a bias-motivated crime. But the real point here is you got three lovely young Americans. They were raising money to help refugees in Syria. One of them was a very talented artist, a young married couple, and a young talented college student. And I think that, these young people were extraordinary, but they were not unique in that they're young people who are Muslim, who are doing what other young people around America are doing every day, which is trying to make this a better place, which is trying to contribute their talents to a better America, better world. So I think that is the main point yesterday at Duke. Yesterday there were 10,000 or so, 5,000 people gathered. The chancellor spoke, Dia's mother spoke, and talked about how her son stood for love, and how he was against fear and hatred, and we should never turn on each other just because of these horrible tragedies. I mean, I think that is what's right in this short aftermath after the deaths. There will be plenty of time for police investigation, for justice to prevail, but right now, let's just celebrate the lives of these awesome young people, and remember that we have so much more in common. These are not just some Muslims who were killed. This is a husband and a wife. This is two sisters. This is a young dentist student, a young artist. There's so much more than just their religious identification.
Yeah, such a great point, and they really were role models, it sounds like, in their community. While we have you, Congressman, we want to ask you about the authorization for military force that the President asked Congress for yesterday. Are you comfortable with how he outlined that request?
Well, I'm glad he did outline the request. I think that's important and appropriate. It shows respect for the congressional role in declarations of war. And by the way, that is what I see this as a declaration of war that we're being asked to consider. Now, having said that, I'm not comfortable with the broad geographic scope. I think that this should be limited to geographic theaters. If the president wants to go to Yemen or Somalia or somewhere in the world, then that needs to be the subject of a new AUMF. I think it's a good thing for the White House and the Congress to be talking constantly about the most important decision that any member of Congress will ever make, which is to declare war. So I think that we also have to understand that this is a multifaceted conflict, and it certainly expands well beyond military means to resolve it. Financial, restrictions on the terrorists, stopping them from selling oil, gathering the international community, the regional community to encircle them. There are a lot of factors to consider, but I guess my point is I'm glad we're in this dialogue. but we need to narrow the scope a little bit more for my comfort.
Okay, Congressman Keith Ellison, thanks so much for being on New Day and sharing your thoughts this morning.
Thank you. Anytime.
Thanks so much.